Class 12. Today I am going to explain to you Robert Frost's Birches. When you watch this video, I request all of you to keep your poems book Reverie open in front of you at page 9. Birches by Robert Frost is a lyrical poem. Here, the poet shares his childhood memory of swinging on the branches of birches. Birches are trees which have flexible branches that bend to the ground. Here, the poet starts the poem by saying, "When I see birches bend to left and right across the lines of straighter, darker trees, I like to think some boy's been swinging them." So what he says is that he watches the birches bending to left and right across the straight line of the darker trees, and he imagines that some boy has been swinging on the branches of these birches. Therefore, he has bent the branches. But swinging doesn't bend them down to stay as ice storms do. He realizes that swinging can bend the branches only temporarily. Here, ice storms actually have pressed them down. And often you must have seen them loaded with ice a sunny winter morning after a rain. So what actually happens is that the birches are often seen loaded with ice on their branches after a snowfall or rain has occurred. They click upon themselves as the breeze rises and turn many colored as the stirred crack. So the trees swing up and down in the breeze and they make a clicking sound when the wind blows. When the rays of the morning sun falls on the ices, then they turn into many colored like the rainbows. Soon the sun's warmth makes them shed crystal shells, shattering and avalanching on the snow crust. Such heaps of broken glass to sweep away, you'd think the inner dome of heaven had fallen. So what happens is that when the sun gets warmer, then these pieces of ice start breaking. They break into pieces and they fall on the ground below. The sight of these pieces give the impression as if the dome, the inner dome of the heaven has fallen and all the pieces are lying on the ground to be swept away. They are dragged to the withered bracken by the load, and they seem not to break, though once they are bowed so low for long, they never right themselves. The load of ice on birches drags them down to the level of the dry fern. They don't break, the branches don't break. Why? Because they are flexible, but they remain bent. You may see their trunks arching in the woods years afterwards. So these trunks remain bent, arching in the forest for many years afterwards. Like girls on hands and knees that throw their hair before them over their heads to dry in the sun. So here's a simile. The poet compares this bent. So as I was saying, this is a simile. The bent trunks of the birches keep trailing their leaves on the ground, like the girls who bend on their hands and knees, throwing their hair before them to dry in the sun. But I was going to say, when truth broke in, as you can see here, T is capital. That means truth has been personified with all her matter of fact about the ice storm. So while the poet likes to imagine that these trees have bent like the girls who are drying their hairs bent on their knees, actually he realizes that this is not the fact. In reality, the ice storms have bent the birches. I should prefer to have some boy bend them as he went out and in to fetch the cows. Some boy too far from town to learn baseball, whose only play was that what he found himself, summer or winter, and could play alone. The poet prefers to imagine actually some boys have bent the birches. Some boy who has come with cows to graze those cows here in the forests. This boy lives far away from the town. He has no companion to play with. He cannot play baseball. So while the cows are grazing, what he does is he starts swinging on the birches. As a result, the branches of these birches bent. Actually, in Robert Frost's childhood, this was a game of swinging the branches of the birches trees was a game for the rural boys. So he wants to imagine the same thing, that the birches haven't bent because of the ice storms. Some boy who has brought the cows, and while the cows are left there to roam and graze, spends his time, because he's all alone without companion in the forests, swinging on the branches of the birches. One by one he subdued his father's trees by riding them down over and over again until he took the stiffness out of them, and not one but hung limp, not one was left for him to conquer. So this boy, he went on with his play. He went on climbing the birches, bending down his father's trees by riding them down again and again. All the trees bowed their heads before this boy. Not one of them remained unconquered. He learned all there was to learn about not launching out soon, and so not carrying the tree away clear to the ground. Now once he had started climbing the birches, he had learned the art of maintaining his balance there. He used to keep his poise to the top branches, climbing carefully with the same pains you used to fill a cup up to the brim and even above the brim. So he used to climb up the top branches of the birches with much care, the care with which one fills a cup to the brim. Then he flung outward, feet first, with a swish, kicking his way down through the air to the ground. So he had learned the art of maintaining his balance. When he used to come down, he used to fling his feet outward, kicking his way down through the air to the ground. And so once I was myself a swinger of birches, and so I dream of going back to be. This is how the poet once used to swing on the branches of the birches, and this is how he wishes that he could go back to his childhood and do the same thing again. He's reminded of his own boyhood when he enjoyed swinging in this manner. He wishes to experience it again. Now, why does he have such a wish? Because he thinks that this is an escape from all the cares and worries of life. He says so. It's when I am weary of considerations and life is too much, like a pathless wood where your face burns and tickles with the cobwebs broken across it, and one eye is whipping from a twig's having lashed across it open. So there are times and occasions when the poet feels stressed, he's tired, and he needs respite, he needs relief. It is as if he's caught in a wood and he's looking for a path to find his direction. There's no path in that forest. So he feels directionless. He's worried. He cannot find his way out. So at times life also poses situations in front of us when we are unable to take a decision. We feel like we are caught in a thick wood where a twig has crossed across our face, has made an open wound, and we start weeping. Therefore, such situation, when there are uncertainties, he becomes confused. At those times, he wants to get away from earth once. He wants to take some rest. and then come back to earth again. I'd like to get away from earth a while and then come back to it and begin over. May no fate willfully misunderstand me and half grant what I wish and snatch me away not to return. Now he is afraid. He says that since he wants to get away from earth, he's likely to be misunderstood by fate. Fate might fail to understand what his actual intention is. So maybe he's granted half his wish of getting away from the earth without the option of returning. That is not the case. He wants to go up like a swinger of the birch climbs up the tree and then comes back to the ground. He wants to take some rest, go away from earth. Again, come back to reality once again. Earth's the right place for love. Why he wants to come back? Because he knows that earth is the only place for love. It's the only place where you can exercise your emotions. I don't know where it's likely to go better. He doesn't know a better place to go than the earth. I'd like to go by climbing a birch tree and climb black branches up a snow-white trunk toward heaven till the tree could bear no more but dipped its top and set me down again. So as a swinger of the birches, he would like to ride a birch, go towards heaven till the tree cannot bear his load and brings him back to earth, sets him down on the ground. That would be good, both going and coming back. One could do worse than be a swinger of birches. So going up while swinging on the birch is good. Why? Because it stands for human aspiration, a desire to get away from the harsh realities of life. At the same time, coming back is also good. Because after all, he cannot stay forever in a world of fancy. He must get back to the earthly duties and seek his fulfillment through them. Therefore, although this poem appears to be very simple, it has a symbolic meaning. There's a deeper meaning. The swinging of the upward movement of the branches, or the boy climbing up the branch, or the poet saying he wants to wish to go up the branches of the birch tree, is symbolic of the higher ideals of life. And the downward movement is where the worldly duties call us. We cannot shirk from our responsibilities. We can take rest for a while. We can remove the stress, tension, and come back and fulfill our duties. So here heaven and earth are used as symbols. Heaven symbolizes world of fancy, some perfect world, whereas earth symbolizes the world of reality. And the poet draws the conclusion that neither is perfect. Each is complementary to the other. And set me down again. So as a swinger of the birches, he would like to ride a birch, go towards heaven till the tree cannot bear his load and brings him back to earth, sets him down on the ground. That would be good, both going and coming back. One could do worse than be a swinger of birches. So going up while swinging on the birch is good. Why? Because it stands for human aspiration, a desire to get away from the harsh realities of life. At the same time, coming back is also good. Because after all, he cannot stay forever in a world of fancy. He must get back to the earthly duties and seek his fulfillment through them. Therefore, although this poem appears to be very simple, it has a symbolic meaning. There's a deeper meaning. The swinging of the upward movement of the branches, or the boy climbing up the branch, or the poet saying he wants to wish to go up the branches of the birch tree, is symbolic of the higher ideals of life. And the downward movement is where the worldly duties call us. We cannot shirk from our responsibilities. We can take rest for a while. We can remove the stress, tension, and come back and fulfill our duties. So here heaven and earth are used as symbols. Heaven symbolizes world of fancy, some perfect world, whereas earth symbolizes the world of reality. And the poet draws the conclusion that neither is perfect. Each is complementary to the other.